Productions. I'm here with Jason. Jason, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit?
Hey, Jeremy, thanks. Jason Weiser here from Webination Station, and my business is basically working with helping people create strategies for their online presence, from websites to social media to SEO, and helping them develop a strategy that they can manage within their budgets and to be effective. It's
Yeah,
pretty much what we do. So.
cool. So you had this idea of wanting to talk about Jetpacks and Jetpack, the WordPress plugin that's native to the parent company of WordPress, Automatic, and the usability of it. So what is your initial thought as far as what Jetpack is and the viability of it?
Yeah, so I've got really kind of, in all fairness to Jetpack, I've got kind of both sides of the coin. If I had to choose yes or no, do you like Jetpack? My answer would be no. I personally don't care for it and wouldn't use it, but I can see why there are people who do like it and love it. In fact, that rave about it. I can see why there are significantly more 5 stars reviews on the plugin than there are 1-star reviews, for example. And in reading through those reviews, it kind of gives you an idea of who loves it and who doesn't love it. And I think that's the reason why I don't particularly love it, and maybe yourself. I'm a developer myself. Many of these either I can write, or I have people from in my company that can write these plugins. So that would be my number one opposition to this plugin, which you and I both talked about before, is bloat. We see the word all the time when people talk about Jetpack. It's just heavy, bloat, lots of stuff, can't turn the buttons on and off. What do you think?
Well, for me, the biggest thing about all of this is that I love to have control over what my website is going to be. And so it seems like half or a third of the options with Jetpack are options that you can't turn off. They're either there or they're not. And if they're there, then that means that it's running in the background, and so it's eating up server computing power and probably bandwidth. And so for me, that is an annoyance to have. And really, I only want Jetpack for initially the stats, the short codes for YouTube videos, and the be able to read and proof what is going on with your websites. There's a couple other options I think are cool now, but even then, it's not enough for me to want to pick it up. So I only want to use maybe a fifth or a sixth of the actual options on Jetpack, and everything else I'd rather dismiss. And if it could be a matter of just completely turning it off, even if it was just a hard drive space that was taking up, I would use it. But it's a matter of it's not using just hardware space, but computing power and potentially database access and bandwidth, and that for me is a big issue. What about the fact of people that actually love it? What is it about Jetpack that they actually really like?
Okay, so it's really easy to install, and it seems to be, for people who are really kind of getting new to WordPress, they maybe don't know a bunch of plugins. They don't know about some of my favorites, for example. They don't know, different ways of for share buttons, or for contact forms, or for carousels. When these are the kinds of things that Jetpack really kind of accommodates. And so, hey, why not grab one-stop shopping, grab it all in one place, put it in. And so I think those are really the people that are kind of gravitating to the plugin, because they don't have to worry about going around and learning a bunch of other plugins. Now, again, on the flip side of that, and for guys, like myself, my team, I want to be able to pick and choose. I don't want all of these options. I want one option, which is why there's a lot of guys that have actually been creating kind of break-off. Like there's one I was reading about, carousel. Somebody did a break-off of just carousel. Or you've heard of the Slim Jetpack, where they can strip it away so that you don't have to have your WordPress.com. You don't have to sign up for that. So there's guys out there that are saying, some of this stuff is kind of nice, but we still want to strip it away. We want to be able to have the ability to have pieces. Who are the people that like it? I think you keyed on one of the absolute strongest things is these stats on site stats. I mean, they're awesome. You can't argue with it. You go right to your website, they're right there. You don't have to kind of click around, go to analytics. You can find a lot of really great information, and it's all in the cloud. So, technically, it's not technically, I say, causing any other bandwidth on your side or server load, or and also with Proton, if you want to do the image galleries, supposedly all that stuff is happening over in the cloud. But you were right also in saying that it loads all these other things. And another big complaint is that even though they're turned off, it's still loading JavaScript. So that's causing load times to be just ridiculous. I've heard a couple guys even talk about, they had it turned on and their load time went up to as high as 25 seconds. Turned it off and it came right back down to 3 to 8 seconds. I mean, and they disabled everything that they could disable just to test it, just to be a totally stripped down Jetpack, and they saw those kinds of numbers. So I think that that really is significant for why, if you can, pick and choose individual plugins to really streamline, load fewer JavaScript, especially fewer JavaScript, fewer style sheets, the better. Then go with finding individual plugins. If you're not a plugin researcher, if you don't know a lot about plugins, it might be a decent place for you to start. But I certainly wouldn't get too attached to it in the long run.
Yeah, I'm one of those people that is all about load times, and a second is actually a big deal, especially if you are trying to optimize it as fast as possible. And so websites like mine, like Dustin.tv, ChurchMag, all those different websites are required almost to have a 3 to 5 second load time. Anything more than that actually hurts business. And so you want something less than that. So that is, in and of itself, a good reason to get rid of it. I know that Dustin had a unique situation in his. Did you want to share a little bit about that as far as the key code?
Oh yeah, this is really kind of important. Anybody that does have Jetpack installed, we were working on some other plugins and we were trying to get something to work. And so in order to do that, what your developer will usually do is turn off all of your plugins to find out which plugin is causing the conflict. Well, when I deactivated all the plugins, deactivating Jetpack ends up changing a code. And I've got the link for you, Jeremy, that'll give the tutorial. Maybe you can put it at the bottom of the video or in your post. That link will walk you through the process that's needed. Now, you need to either hire somebody that understands how to get into PHPMyAdmin or be able to get into your database, or you need to be able to know how to do that yourself. You have to be able to get to your WP options file, change some information around, and make sure that you do it right away, because you could technically lose that code. When you lose that code, then it's very, very challenging to get that code back. Now, again, it is in the cloud, so it's always there, but just because it's in the cloud doesn't mean you're always going to be able to find that, your key, which is, as any keys are, they're a long string of random characters and numbers, and it's not something you're just going to guess. You have to be able to know what it is and find it. So be aware of that if you deactivate Jetpack. Be prepared that you might lose your stats.
Yeah, definitely. So for people that are doing blogging, they're considering using Jetpack or not, who would you say is a good audience to use Jetpack? And for those that are not a good audience, what would you recommend instead for a couple of the major components of Jetpack?
Yeah, so again, I started to say some of the things that I like about Jetpack, and I think that can kind of answer it. I love the stats feature. It's phenomenal. I love the recent or most popular posts feature. Of all the plugins out there that are able to really kind of determine with your most popular posts. Now, a lot of the formulas that are used to determine what the most popular posts are aren't necessarily accurate. They're usually, oftentimes, those numbers will get reset. So you might end up only getting your most popular post in the last week, or if you're clearing caches, or different things happen like that, cookies, etc. So I really love Jetpack because it's in the cloud. You're really guaranteed to get some good, solid, most popular post stats that you can run in sidebar widgets, etc. I love the stats. I love that it's a simple plug and play for the newbie, for somebody who maybe doesn't have a developer, doesn't have a big budget, and they want to be able to solve things like share buttons. I mean, which can be quite complicated. And trying to implement these, if you're trying to manually implement them. Now, of course, if you have a team of developers, then I would strongly suggest just code it yourself. There's enough tutorials out there about how to add, pin buttons and like buttons and share buttons and +1 buttons. But if you don't know how to do all that stuff, out of the box, it is pretty simple, pretty easy. So I think that if you're just starting out and you need a kind of a plug and play getting going, it might not be so bad. But as your company grows, as your blog develops, speed is going to be an issue. It's going to be something you absolutely want to consider and start to find ways to divorce yourself from JetPack. I think. And then, like I said, there is this slim jetpack, and then there are other features. And I'll share the link to Slim Jetpack too, where you can avoid having to kind of be totally married to WordPress.com, which I think a lot of people are a big opposition.
Sure.
To Jetpack.
And I think the other part of it too is if you are a blogger that is a minimalist and doesn't want much on their website as far as maintaining it, that would be a great reason for you to get Jetpack, because it's one plugin, nothing else have to worry about, and it all integrates really well with itself. So you get all those different options within one plugin. But if you are someone that appreciates a whole vast array of plugins and you're someone that really likes to integrate a lot of different things as far as the website goes, Jetpack has been known to crash so many different times with other plugins, just the way that it's formatted, and it's really the code. It's really the way that they have optimized their code. They are assuming that they are first and foremost, and everybody else is along for the ride. And so, if you value other plugins, I would suggest finding alternatives to Jetpack. And for me personally, the stats is actually Google Plus page. I just go to Google Analytics to look at the stats for that, because I really want to make sure that my website's optimized for search engines, and if the biggest search engine out there is Google, then I want to see what Google sees. And then the other part of it, the short codes and stuff like that, I've found alternatives as well that I can share later. So as far as you're concerned, are you going to be using Jetpack in the future?
As much as I can avoid it, I will avoid it. And as many, I suspect that I will be getting more and more clients asking me to help them gravitate away from it. As speed is becoming more and more of an issue, and you really hit the nail on the head there, Jeremy. It doesn't play nice with other plugins. If you want to go in and start customizing stuff and tweaking, and once you get a developer in there, your developer is going to get frustrated because it's not easy to kind of play with the code in terms of child functions, etc. Another topic for another time. But
yeah, very cool. So, you willing to share anything that you are doing online for those that are at 78 Productions, just to get them over to your stuff? Anything?
Oh well, I'm just having a whole lot of fun just being on G Plus and meeting guys like yourself and Dustin, and I would love to be able to promote my site and ask people to come on over, but I really don't do a whole lot of blogging. I'm swamped with I'm just really swamped right now, but I really have enjoyed meeting you guys, and would like to get to know some of the guys more of the guys over at Church Mag too, and hopefully you guys will let me jump in on one of your Church Mag social media chats, which you haven't had in a while, Jeremy, and you guys need to do that again.
We are going to have our next one that's going to be open to everybody on July 13th. So
awesome.
Saturday at 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Great. Thanks a lot, Jeremy.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Yep. We'll talk again sometime, man.
Bye.
Yep. Bye now.